We're continuing to follow the latest developments out of Frisco, where the case over the fatal stabbing of a teenager is causing controversy. After reports the Trump administration was gearing up to deport more Venezuelan migrants under the Alien Enemies Act, the Supreme Court has stepped in, blocking those deportations. Abigail Verwick joins us now. Well, if you live in North Texas, it was a hectic evening as severe weather moved through the area, with the National Weather Service reporting several tornadoes in Parker and Wise County. Let's send things over to meteorologist Maddie Kirker, who joins us now with more. Maddie, what do we know so far, and is there anything else in store for today? One of the main concerns Texans have raised about school vouchers is what happens to funding for public schools. A different piece of legislation in the Texas House might have an answer to those concerns. Well, a rocky season for the Dallas Mavericks has come to an end. Last night, the Mavs lost to the Memphis Grizzlies 106-120 in the play-in. Meanwhile, the Dallas Wings have their new franchise player. The team selected Paige Beckers with the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. Adam Rosso shows us how fans at the team's draft party were feeling after the big announcement. A new study by the University of El Paso shows migrants in the U.S. are less likely to commit crimes compared to natural-born U.S. citizens. As we head into the hot summer months, we're keeping a close eye on the Texas power grid. We're approaching 3 years since the tragic shooting at Robb Elementary. 19 students and 2 teachers lost their lives that day. And for the Uvalde community, the construction of a new school is serving as a ray of hope. Capital right now, marijuana is a big topic for discussion. Lawmakers are discussing how to regulate the plant, and that's causing some concern for Texas dispensary owners. On the same day he was sworn back into office, President Donald Trump signed an executive order doing away with birthright citizenship. And after being blocked by multiple courts, the executive order will finally be considered by the nation's highest court next month. There's still a chance for rain this Easter Sunday. We'll track the latest storm chances in your area coming up in your Weather on the One. All this weekend, we've been keeping an eye on measles cases across our state. 36 new cases were reported Friday, bringing our number of infections up to 597 statewide. This map shows the current outbreak across our state, with Palmer and Potter counties in the Panhandle reporting their first cases this week. And for the first time, Gaines County is not leading the way with new cases. Easter is tomorrow, and that means many of you will be headed to church, having a special meal, or filling up on a bunch of candy. These conditions might make an impact on your summer plans, especially if you are planning to take a trip to the river. In Kerrville, city officials want Hill Country residents to conserve their water as the Guadalupe River reaches significantly low levels. To find programs for your special needs child, especially for families with neurodiverse children. But a Tampa Bay program is looking to bring kids of all needs and abilities together. When you look at it, it's really important to notice both distinctions. The Senate's version sets a clear number: 10,000 for students in private, 2,000 for families who homeschool. It's honestly the momentum that we're seeing with Governor Greg Abbott. The push has been very strong with him to get this on the ground and in the Senate and the House so that it can get approved, so that vouchers can follow through. So one of the biggest reasons families in Texas choose to homeschool their children is to have that freedom to tailor their child's education without those state mandates. Well, first we'll have those committee hearings where they'll kind of, debate on these topics of whether or not, what will work and what needs to change. Obviously, we'll go to the Senate and they're going to discuss it. We have to wait to see, what Governor Greg Abbott says in the State of the State on Sunday. We know that his, emergency priorities will be coming out. It's not really determined right now. I mean, obviously the momentum is very fast, but if, it does pick up and the House does approve it, we could see this happen very quickly in the coming weeks. So it just depends on how the lawmakers play out and how they can determine what needs to happen. This collapsed bridge behind me is just one of the many challenges rescue teams are facing here in Banner Elk. Washed out in Friday's storm, it is now completely impassable and making it more difficult to reach those in desperate need. The decision came down to a narrow 8-7 vote. Now Texas public school districts will have to decide whether they choose to use the Bible-infused curriculum and gain the extra funding. Good evening. Yeah, I spoke to those pushing for school choice today and those who are saying this bill would hurt public schools. The debate is heating up over school vouchers, with both sides out in full force this week, lobbying legislators ahead of key votes. Fans are riding the waves of their triumphant World Series victory. I caught up with a lifelong superfan on how they're eager for tomorrow's celebration. Santos Vive, a phrase that is being repeated over and over this month as the 24th commemorates 5 decades that a young life was cut short. A local pastor in the town of Boone has turned his church into a donation center and personally delivering supplies to those in need. A Terrell police officer shot and killed, marking the 3rd North Texas officer to be shot in the line of duty since August. I spoke to one witness who heard the gunshots ring out and called 911 immediately. This little guy, a pecan, hasn't always had it easy. And with extreme heat conditions in Texas, I was eager to find out how they're doing this year. Inside a school in Howards Creek, floodwaters reached 6 feet and higher. Now 2 lead teachers are having the difficult task of rebuilding after the storm. In this hospital, high schoolers are learning real-world medical skills, training for a career that is needed now more than ever. That is right, Nicole. So she is on her 3rd term that she is seeking, along with 7 other candidates against her. From Texas to California, educators say student disciplinary policies are outdated and ineffective. I spoke to educators across the nation, including one North Texas superintendent who says change is urgently needed. Odie Wyatt is nourishing more than just minds. They now have an on-campus grocery store feeding and supporting students in need. Amidst a sea of parishioners grappling with the aftermath of a controversial decision made by the Vatican, we spoke to those who support and dissent the removal of Bishop Strickland. A promising start to the year for a potential rebound in the Texas honeybee population. However, Mother Nature had other plans for this industrious insect. Think of Texas school funding like a row of buckets. Each bucket represents a school district, and water represents the local property taxes it collects. Some districts in high-value, high-growth areas fill their buckets fast. Others in lower wealth regions struggle to keep theirs from running dry. When a district's bucket overflows, that extra water or tax revenue doesn't stay local. The state collects it through a system called recapture, often nicknamed Robin Hood.
Recapture is really sort of a function of the property wealth that you have across your district and the number of students. So when your property values go up and your student population either doesn't go up or decreases, you have more wealth per student, which is basically more opportunities to fill that bucket.
School finance expert Sandra Villanueva with Every Texan, a nonprofit policy organization, says recaptured tax dollars from the state's school finance bucket is supposed to be poured into other school budgets that need the help. But now she says that flow may be changing direction.
What happens is when you collect more money in recapture, the state has to put in less general revenue dollars to fill their obligation to the schools. So that growth in recapture will free up state dollars, which then could be spent on vouchers or any other state need.
Critics like Representative James Tallarico says with school vouchers now in the equation, promises once made to underfunded districts may not be kept.
This is bad news for recapture districts. It's also bad news for non-recapture districts. The state needs to do its fair share of school funding. So our schools are still going to be in a hole at the end of this legislative session. And on top of that, we're now going to be spending billions of dollars to subsidize the private tuition of wealthy families rather than fully funding our neighborhood public schools.
Now signed into law, Governor Greg Abbott says ESAs offer families more choices, but public school advocates warn it may come at the cost of classrooms that rely on every dollar. The program will provide up to $10,000 for students who apply and would begin starting the 2026-2027 school year.
In Dallas, Emily Pounds, Spectrum News.
With new armed guard laws being implemented in Texas schools, districts are undergoing a significant transformation in response to school safety concerns, with educators stepping into new roles as armed guardians. At Cinco Pesos shooting range, Chief Mike Lane gears up for another round of training. He's a co-owner of the security company and a retired police captain turned chief of police for Bell ISD. His job now, training educators willing to be part of the School Defender program.
Line up your sights, squeeze. Line up your sights, squeeze. Line up your sights, squeeze.
The program allows for school staff to carry a gun and gain skills to effectively protect themselves and their students during critical incidents.
A lot of people's minds, it's, Miss Anders is going to get a Glock when she shows up for work tomorrow morning, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Lane says staff members volunteering for this responsibility undergo training that exceeds the standards regulated by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement for Active Duty Police Officers. Over 50 public and private districts have partnered with Cinco Peso to ensure their staff members have access to life-saving training, including Amarillo, McKinney, and Carrollton ISD.
All right, now just go ahead and aim at the X.
At the shooting range, Chief Lane guided me through the process of teaching educators how to properly fire a gun at the target.
Now make sure it's touching the X and give me ever so slightly press. Ever so slightly.
He adds this job is not meant for everyone, and they worked with the districts to vet who fits the bill best.
Who would be interested in it? Now, we know going into this that there's going to be some people that are going to say they're interested, which are the last persons that need to be in possession of a firearm on a campus. So there's a vetting process right there from the beginning.
With concerns about school safety continuing, Chief Lane and his team want to ensure schools are prepared for any threat.
First responders have a very important role in resolving these situations, but it's the immediate responder, the defender, that's going to have the biggest impact on the number of casualties once the event finally comes to a conclusion.
In Ector, Emily Pounds, Spectrum News 1. For 40 years, Addison Kaboomtown draws in over 500,000 visitors for an unforgettable night of fireworks and aerial stunts. Among the stars of the sky this year is Mike Galloway, a Dallas native and seasoned stunt pilot who's been part of Kaboomtown for over a decade.
Kaboomtown is a very, very unique air show because you fly in the middle of the city. Oftentimes when you do an air show, you're out in the country or somewhere where it's kind of out in the outlying areas. Kaboomtown, you're right in the middle of the town of Addison. There's not a bad seat in the house.
Mike's journey into the world of aerobatics started when his father shared his fascination with planes, which turned into a lifelong passion.
That's what this airplane is, a sports car in the sky.
Now, flying for nearly 27 years, he is one of the top stunt pilots in the country, previously representing Team USA at the World Aerobatic Championships.
Yep, and then step directly on the seat.
To get a true sense of the thrill, Mike took me up for a spin, demonstrating the incredible stunts that have wowed audiences for years. Even got a chance to take the controls myself. As we touched down, it was clear for Mike Galloway the skies are a canvas and Kaboomtown is a part of his masterpiece.
I enjoy the exercise of it. I enjoy the thrill of it. If you don't have butterflies in your stomach before you fly, then there's something wrong with you.
After skydiving his way down to Addison Airport and jumping into his red 300S aircraft, folks won't want to miss Mike soaring his way through Kaboomtown Wednesday. In Addison, Emily Pounds, Spectrum News.
It's an ongoing movement. We'll keep going.
The debate over school vouchers is in full swing at the Texas Capitol, with supporters and opponents of Senate Bill 2 meeting face-to-face with lawmakers. The bill giving families the option to leverage $10,000 in state funding per student for private school tuition and other expenses. Jillian Ray, a college freshman now, says she was able to graduate from a private high school because of a scholarship, and now she's advocating to lawmakers, hoping that Texas students will get the option to attend a school like hers without financial barriers.
School choice made this possible for me, and through ACE scholarships, My family and I have experienced firsthand the transformative power of quality education.
Stacy Ferguson also relied on financial help when she chose private school for her 4 children.
The impact that it has had on my family. And I know for a fact that other families do prefer to have the same experience for their children.
But opponents say the bill could hurt public schools. On Tuesday, lawmakers debated the impact.
So $200 million, and I think is the bill saying that the ESA amount currently is going to be about $10,000. Is that correct?
That's right.
Public school advocates warning lawmakers during the meeting that the proposed education savings account program would drain taxpayer money from public schools.
How much more money do you need? I hadn't heard anybody ask the public schools, how much more money do you need?
With new pro-voucher lawmakers in the House, Governor Greg Abbott says Senate Bill 2 has a stronger chance of passing this session. But as this week's lobbying efforts show, the debate over school vouchers is far from settled.